I'm Jens, CTO and co-founder of Widgetbook. So I will give a very brief introduction of what Widgetbook, especially the open source package is, so that the people that haven't seen it know approximately what's going on. So I already have Widgetbook open. This is our demo, so it's a little grocery app. Yeah, Widgetbook, the open source package, is something that you can, as a developer, add to your project. We basically offer what you can currently see on the screen. So basically one huge widget, which is coming from us. And what you are doing is you basically put in your components from your application into Widgetbook. We call this cataloging. So basically you have a design system, maybe one or multiple apps, and you basically bring these widgets into Widgetbook as a catalog, which you will then see on the left side of the screen in form of a tree. And with this approach, you can basically have an overview of your components. You can experiment with these components and see how they behave with, for instance, different inputs. And you can also make sure that all of your widgets work in the way they should be. This Widgetbook can then be shared with other team members, with your designers, product owners, or also other developers, maybe also developers that recently joined the team. So it will be a lot easier to understand from which components the app is actually built. Yep. Yeah, in this webinar, we will primarily focus on how you get components and also screens into Widgetbook. Because we got the feedback from customers that especially the screens are a bit harder to catalog. So we really want to tackle this in exactly this webinar. Yeah, I have an even simpler demo app created for this webinar. It won't look that great, but what's more important is that you get the concepts of how to catalog, as well as how to maybe go a little bit around of the pitfalls that you might see in the development process. Okay, let's jump into the code. Or even better, let's see the demo application I created. So on the right side is the demo app. On the left side is Widgetbook already running, so we don't need to do a lot of setup. Yeah, as you can see, there is a login button. If you press it, you will get logged in with a username, and that's it. You can click the logout button and you will get logged out again. So this all works with an inherited widget, so kind of like a state management solution. And yeah, based on these two screens, I will show you how to catalog those screens and components. Okay, let's jump into a bit of the code. So I will start with the project structure. So we have an application here, the Widgetbook mocking application that I created for this webinar. And you already know this file structure from your own projects. Maybe you even have like a monorepo, which is mostly the same, but might be a bit more complex. And within this project, you should recognize all of the folders, except maybe Widgetbook. So the way it works is we have the production application, in this case, the Widgetbook mocking, and then we created another application for Widgetbook, in which we will then catalog all the components. Okay, let's look a little bit into the structure of this application. So there are a bunch of files for just this bit of functionality, but none of them are complex. So I will first start with the app file. So in this app file, we will see how the application is structured. So we have a router with two different pages, the login screen as well as the user screen. And then we have a theme going on. So you might be using Material, Cupertino, or even your own custom theme. For the sake of this webinar and also showing you how to get started with your application, I chose to have a custom theme, which is very similar to Material, but since Material is even easier to set up in Widgetbook, I wanted to have something that is a bit more complex and might be something that you will also see for your application. Okay, so with this app theme, this is a customly implemented theme from me. It's an inherited widget, and this inherited widget has some data, the app theme data. So we use this inherited widget here to basically inject our theme data into the widget tree. Okay, so this app theme data is very simple. It has a background color and font color. So that means we, in this case, really have a black and white application. And in the light theme, the background is white. In the dark theme, the background is black. That's all, and there's not more to it. Yeah, and I would say we get right away with starting with Widgetbook and how to set it up. And then later on, we will have a look at how to catalog actual components. But yeah, this setup that we now do will also be the foundation for what we will see later and on how to catalog some of these components. Okay, let me see. Yeah, so we have the main file here. And if you go to the documentation, we will have a quick start guide on our docs. So you will go here, so you will docs quick start. And this will give you instructions on, first of all, create this project that we have seen here in this folder. And then add some dependencies. And yeah, then we have basically the setup code here. And the code that you will see in my project is exactly the same. It just adds a few more things. Okay, so let's go over the code. We create a new entry point for our application. We have this Widgetbook app stateless widget and the build method. So here we use the widget that we created with our Widgetbook package. So this is what you get with the open source package. It's like a huge widget. And as you can see, you can put in some Widgetbook nodes. These are basically the widgets that you put in and that are then cataloged in Widgetbook. These directories here basically define what's here in the left tree. Okay, we have some add-ons here. So that means the device frame that you have seen in the demo, that's already configured, as well as an alignment add-on, so that everything will be centered in the middle. Yeah, and here we have already the directories configured that will be later created by the build runner. So this is automatically generated for you. Yeah, and what we want to do now is we want to check if our theme that we have, this black and white theme, which is a custom theme, works in Widgetbook. So let's go over how you would catalog an actual component. The way it works is we require you to provide a builder function that returns the widget you would like to catalog. So in this case, we will keep it super simple by just cataloging a text first. So the idea that you return this text for the builder function, you will provide some information in the text. And in this case, we will also style the text based on our theme. So this basically requires that we probably have the theme available in our widget tree. And here with this add use case annotation, we will make sure that the generator knows how to collect these builder functions and build the directories that I previously mentioned. So basically what happens is, I can split screen this. What basically happens is this method will be part of these directories. Okay. Yeah, let's see how this is going. I will go no here. What we need here is to run the build runner. So we will go dart run build runner watch. Yeah, and as I explained, this will collect all the build functions. As you can see, this now goes into error mode. Collect all the build functions, put them in the directories, and once completed, we are ready to launch our widget book. Yeah, I think it's done. I will quickly hot restart. And if we now go into widget book, we have this theme here and the app theme. So the app theme is coming from the properties I provided here. And this text is currently hidden. So if we click this, we will see something that we don't want to see. So this says a null check operator used on a null value. So basically meaning, Flutter and within widgetbook is not able to actually find the theme. So something seems to be wrong here. And we will now figure out what exactly is incorrect in this setup. So we will use the dev tools. Since I'm attached in debug mode, we can just open the dev tools, and I will do so for widgetbook, and I will also do so for the application. So my UI will be a bit wild here, but I will guide you along. So what we see here right now is on the right side, similar to how this application is also on the right side, the tree of my production application. And on the left, over here, there will be the tree of widgetbook. So as you can see here in the tree that we have an app theme in this widget tree over here. However, this is not the case in widgetbook. And therefore, this error message is not so surprising, because we kind of expect it to be here within the widget tree, but it isn't. So what we now need to do is we need to make sure that widgetbook and the widget tree of our running widgetbook application is similar to the one of our actual production application. This makes sure that when you preview your components in widgetbook, that they actually are also looking as you expect them to, and as they would look in your application. Okay, so we will make a little adjustment here. So I have this prepared, so you don't have to watch me coding. Yep, and what we add here is within the add-ons, or I can also show you that in the documentation. For the add-ons, we have the theme add-on, which comes in 3 different varieties. The first one is theme add-on. This is basically the generic version of our theme add-on, and then there are basically specific versions of it, the material theme add-on and the Cupertino theme add-on. So if you use Cupertino or material design system, then you have a bit of an easier time, but it's also not that complicated if you have a custom one. And I will show you how. So theme add-on, the generic version, takes 2 different properties. So the first one is themes, and the other one is theme builder. So what themes does is, so we will hop back. Okay, this is not. Okay, what the themes property is doing is basically you list all the themes that you would like to have available to select from in widgetbook. So here we see now light and dark after I hot reloaded. And this is also what is specified in this code. So I basically specified that I want to have one theme called light with app data light, and I specified I want to have another theme dark with app data dark. So now that we basically have this information within widgetbook, we also have to tell Flutter on how this is actually built within the widget tree. So we do this by injecting our inherited widget that I showed before into the widget tree, and we provide the data, which can either be, in this case, light or dark. So when we switch here, the property here in this theme builder will also change. And I've wrapped this with an app scaffold. So the app scaffold is also using the theme data, and it will basically create a container which color is the background color. So once we switch from light to dark, the background color will switch from being white to black. Okay. let me see. Okay, so if we now go here, this works. It isn't pretty, but yeah, it works. And if we switch here, it will switch from light to dark. And we also see in the widget tree that we now have another component in the tree, the app theme. And obviously our text is now appearing since we have no more arrows. So this is basically something that sometimes, especially like larger companies, see that they usually have very complex themes and design systems. So they make sure that this theme is properly set up in Widgetbook and injected into the widget tree. Okay, I think now is a great time to have some questions. I know I've been going over the code quite fast, but if you have any questions so far, let's see. Okay, I see in the chat a question from Guillaume, how to run it locally as a macOS app or web. Okay, so this is, so you basically can run Widgetbook in whatever configuration you would like. That can be on desktop, on web, or you can also do that on mobile if you want to, but this is not our most recommended option to run Widgetbook on. And the way you do it is, let me figure this out. Not what I wanted, but okay. So you want to make sure that you're in the correct folder, and you will run Widgetbook by doing Flutter run -d, which is the device, and you go just macOS. That's all. Okay. Albert asks, there are no conflicts between Widgetbook. There are no conflicts between Widgetbook and Widgetbook annotation now, so we don't need to alias annotation import. Very nice. Okay. Yeah, what Albert meant is that previously in the documentation, we showed that you needed to do some as Widgetbook here. And I believe that's probably still the case. The only reason why it's not happening here is because we don't have any knobs that we use. Let's see. Nope, it works. So Albert was right, and you no longer need this. Okay. Great questions. Are there any questions regarding to how to set up Widgetbook with a theming, or should I continue? Maybe we can do a little reaction here with thumbs up if you are ready to continue. Okay, but so we have a lot of thumbs up, but at the same time we also have some people raising their hand. So we have one more question. On which Widgetbook version am I currently? So I'm using version 3.10. So we released this, I think, 4 days ago. And the other people that raised their hands can also speak up or just text. Yeah, so what you can do, so the question is, can you also include Figma with open source or only on paid plans? So overall, Widgetbook, the open source package, is free. We also have a cloud product, which can be paid, but you can also try that for free as well. And the question that was asked is basically, can you use the Figma integration with the open source package as well? So the Figma integration starts by this annotation having a design link property in which you can then put in the Figma link. Great, Copilot is already suggesting something here. Yeah, and you can also use that in the open source package as well. But usually companies use this feature of Widgetbook and also Widgetbook Cloud to use the cloud product and get all the benefits with our review feature. But there is nothing that speaks against using this annotation as well as this pattern basically to document a little bit which component belongs to what component in Figma. Okay, so now it's time for the part that you came for, basically. So first of all, you learned how to catalog in case you didn't know already. And the next step is how do you catalog components that might have some provider dependencies. Okay, let me jump back to the original application. I'm a bit blind here. Here we go, not here. Here we go. So the way with our tree, let's use this, is that we have a app theme, as I said, and we will inject the user provider that will handle the logic basically on when is this user logged in, when is he logged out, which user is logged in, and so on, so that we can display it in the application. You can also see that here in the code. So we have the user provider here. We will add a state. I added this little hack here to make sure that it navigates properly once the user changes. And we inject the router here. So the most important bit is basically that we will inject this user provider kinda globally. So for most of the screens, if not all, in this case all, the user provider should be accessible from everywhere because it's very high up in the tree. The only other component that is not the app itself is basically the theming, which is also very global. Okay, we can have a look at our login screen first. So this is super simple. We just have a button, and on the button click, we will do a login. That's it. Very simple screen. We can look into the user state here. And the state is basically we have a nullable user, and we have a login method that will set this user to a user model. So this model has some properties. The most important one and the only displayed is name. And that's it. So in the moment we set this, we notify all the listeners. And we also have one function to log out to set the user to null. So in your application, the authentication probably doesn't look like this, but it will be a little bit more complex. There might be access to the database, your auth provider, or maybe you also do some other stuff here. But in the end, it doesn't really matter because we will learn soon how to navigate these approaches. Yeah, and the problems that also might occur because your app obviously has access to those services likely accessible from the internet, but this app doesn't. But as I said, I will just show you how this might go. Okay. One more screen to go. So the other screen, this is a little bit more complex. The other screen is a user screen, and this also looks very simple. So it just centers the user widget. So let's have a look at what the user widget is. And this user widget is a bit more complicated. So first of all, we are getting the user, and then we will do something based on in which state this user is. So this is a case that should rarely happen. And then we basically just print out the user. So since this component basically just has an icon, a text, and the logout button, it should also be rather simple to catalog, which is something that we want to do in the next step. Okay. So I already created a similar structure to the structure I have in code. So in my production app, I have features, user, and widgets, and I will create a similar. Folder structure and file to mirror the setup, and then I create a use case for this component. So if you look at how this is set up, this is the user screen, and I'm totally using the component in the same way. So I just do user widget with empty parameters here, and I do the same here. So if I now have a look at Widgetbook and go to this user widget, we see something that we have seen before, but a bit different. So we see a null check operator used on a null value again. So therefore it's now back to checking the problem in the second iteration. So what we will do now is first close all of the stuff here. And have a look again at our tree and the tree of our application. So with my application, I'm currently on the logout page or on the user page. So I will press refresh here. So I will now have an overview of what's actually happening. Yeah, this is stuck. This is not totally up to date, but only based on this last component here. So I think this is currently not on the screen, but the other parts of the tree are properly synced. So as I said, what we see here is we have the app theme. That is something that we also have in Widgetbook. But what's totally missing is the user provider. And since the error message already said this is basically what we were looking for, but we're unable to find, this is something that we now need to also inject into the tree of Widgetbook and make sure that this provider is available. And I will now show you the very first approach on how to do this. So we will wrap this with a widget, and it will be a user provider. And now this user provider needs some properties, which we will also provide. So we have a state, we will go user state, and we can keep the state empty for now. And if we reload now, this should already work. So we now see no user logged in. This is because the default state has the user set to null. However, we can also provide a user model here with the user information. I should not have added so many properties here. Okay. So here with the user model, we now provide some specific data. If you go back to Widgetbook, the component looks exactly as in our application. And funny enough, we can also click the logout button. Okay. Yeah, but what is very important here is we basically now ingested some fake data. So a thing that we often hear from companies is that they are a bit afraid of putting in information of the user, because often what they see is we catalog widgets, there's some user information, they are really afraid that this is like actual user information from the production database or something, but you as a developer have full control over this. So you can also put in fake information as I did. So we at least currently don't have any Widgetbook member called John. And therefore we can populate this component in a way that we want to, and also that makes sense for this specific component. Yeah, that's it regarding how to mock this component. Before I continue, I think it's another great time to have some questions. Okay, so we have two very interesting questions about how to add docs. So this is something that is likely known from Storybook or maybe also other tools on how to add docs. Unfortunately, this is currently not supported with Widgetbook. However, we are working on it. So yeah, let me go here. But however, we have an issue open that exactly tracks this problem. So yeah, you can follow up on this somewhere, maybe this, and see how how this progresses. Okay, so we have one question about, does the Figma feature only allow link to Figma component or more? Yeah, so right now, we provide the link to the Figma component so that you can easily access it from your code or also from Widgetbook Cloud. Yeah. And a good hint, in case the docs are not up to date, we will look into that as well. Okay. So the thing here is, we have already seen that you can click this logout button, but it would be a nightmare if, for instance, this would be a delete button and it would delete something, I don't know, in the database, right? So we also need an approach of modifying how interactivity goes, or even you want to make something that is a little bit more complex. So what you can also do instead of this approach is that you use a mocking library like Mocktail to create some fakes or some stubs. So I can quickly show this. So what we will do in this case is we create a new class called mock user state, and it extends the mock and implements the user state. What's happening? Okay. And then we need to create a new instance of this class. So we will call this final state mock user state. And you can then say when state.user, then I think it's return a user model. Wait, that's wrong. You have to go like this. Okay. So now if we restart this whole thing, it crashed, looks like. Interesting. I'm hoping that this will not start it on the iPhone. I think it does. Then we will do it the way a user already asked about it. So we will go Flutter run -d macOS. Unfortunately, we now lack the inspector for our widget tree, but we are also already done with it. So that's good. So as you can see, this mocking approach worked in a similar way. However, the mocking approach with a library like Mocktail or Mockito is a lot more powerful, because you could potentially also adjust how methods behave and what is returned. So you could also go a logout and completely stop this out. So I know it's not accessing your database. All right. Yeah, we can say let's then throw, and we do a new exception. Maybe it's not working. Yeah, but you get the point. So you can look into this in case you have never heard about Mockito or Mocktail. It can also be a great addition. However, we recommend to go the little bit easier approach of just, for instance, using your state and provide some fake data into it. That's most of the time way easier approach. Okay, so we have one question. Is it possible to call set up and tear down methods? Let me think about it. The answer is no. That's something that we currently do not support. However, if you are interested in having an approach that is more geared towards full testing framework, for instance, as you know it from Flutter, like Go testing or widget testing, then you can have a look into Widgetbook 4. So it's something that we tried a while ago and that we are still investigating. And that is better supporting Widgetbook with testing frameworks. So here we have a bit of a different approach. This will also change, but if you are super interested in it, make sure to check it out and leave some feedback on this alpha version. So let's go back to the original version. I think it will be a bit easier to read for everybody. So this here is really a lot of stuff for such a simple component to wrap it with the whole provider and then making sure that everything works. So at this point, we are mostly done with on how to approach widgets with dependencies. However, I want to give some best advice on maybe how to organize your code. So the thing with this user widget here is that it has this user provider dependency. But if you also imagine this user widget to be a design system component, you might or might not want to have such dependencies in your design library. So what we recommend is, especially for the more atomic components, is to make them not depend on any state management. And I will discuss the pros and cons of this also in a sec to make sure that you properly understand when maybe to pick one approach over the other. So what we could do instead of this here is we can create some properties, and we call this user, and we also have one for the void callback on logout. Then we can remove this. Operate can't be null. Interesting. And let's make it null. This seems to be null now, and that's it. And we will also replace this here. Okay, and now this code should be independent of any state management or providers. So basically, we now reduce the dependency that we needed before. So we can have a look into how this goes now. So we will directly inject the user model now. And we have on logout, which we will keep empty. Okay, let's see if this works. It might not. I think it didn't. The reason for this is we still have some errors because we have to do the same here. So you will now also see the pros and cons of like basically moving the dependency to somewhere else. So previously this parameter here was empty. So our user screen basically had nothing to do and nothing to put into it. This now shifts to exactly this component. So what we had before in the user widget, we will now have in the user screen just one level above. So we will access the user here via the provider and put it into the user widget. Yep. on logout, and we will call user.logout. This is not working for some reason. Let me see. Yeah. Well, okay. Isn't defined. I know, because this is the now we got it. Okay, so the logic that we previously had in the user widget is now in the user screen. So that makes the user widget a lot easier, because it's now super straightforward to actually put in the data to render this out. And we can also go ahead and do some context knobs string. This will require Widgetbook. So that makes it now very straightforward to catalog this component. So if you now go back, now it worked. I also forgot to refresh last time. So we can now do John, the Widgetbook user. Right, and check out how does this component behave with some different inputs. Okay, so the conclusion of this approach is we now moved away the dependency from this component to basically one level higher. So what has been the responsibility of this component is now the responsibility of our user screen. If you think about an application that has like really large complexity, right? You have, I don't know, not like one super simple feature, but like multiple like huge features. It might be super annoying to actually follow up with this pattern. So it's not super easy to decide when to have a component have this user dependency or when not to. But we basically suggest that at least the most atomic components, the very baseline components, should just accept some dumb data and not have any dependencies or any logic in it. And this is likely not something that you hear from for the first time. So it really is a balance, and you with your team have to decide what to do. But as I said, these are basically the guidelines that we have. If you imagine that you will have not a few components like here in the tree, but like a super long tree, and in the bottom is your user widget, and on the top is your user provider. What you also don't want is to pass the user into every of the widgets. So that's why I say it's really a balance. But yeah, I think that sums it up with how to catalog components that have dependencies, provider dependencies, and also maybe what decisions you would like to make as a team that we suggest to, first of all, have an overall better widget structure, and also a way easier time to catalog some components. Yeah, but that's it for the content of the webinar, but I'm open for additional questions. Okay, so we have one question from Philip. So Philip says, in an older version of Widgetbook, there was probably version 2, it was possible to display several preview devices next to each other. So what Philip is referencing is that we have a phone here, and this phone here, in Widgetbook 2, we basically had them, you could have multiple next to each other. So it was easier to compare specific configurations. Okay, and what Philip is asking is, you could have several preview devices next to each other simultaneously. For instance, a device with a dark theme and a device with a light theme, or a small device and a large device. Is that also possible with Widgetbook 3 to do it at the same time? So the answer is maybe. So we don't support this any longer out of the box because we wanted to have the add-ons, and Albert also said it was a bit confusing before and we changed something already. But we wanted the add-ons to be very simple. And what we realized in the process of making this multi-preview feature possible is that it was very confusing regarding the add-on configurations, because what you have seen got basically influenced by a lot of add-on configurations. And for us, it was super hard to maintain and to make the feature work in a user-friendly way. That being said, and also to not let you down, you can, if you really like this feature and you would love to see it again, it's something that I can offer you, and that is our, wait, let me see, add-ons, and you can implement an own one. So the way it works is, so we have a really extensible add-on system, and some of our community members have already added amazing add-ons. And what you can do for yourself or also for the community is to implement your own add-on. So maybe I can go into this alignment add-on. So this alignment add-on is defined by a new class. You will extend Widgetbook add-on, and then you basically build out what are the options that you can select from the add-on. So basically these drop-downs here. So device add-on has like multiple of these fields. As you can see, the alignment add-on just has one. And then you basically define how to render out this child component that you will put into, and the settings are coming from the fields. And if you like to, you can implement your own multi-device preview and make that happen. If you have any questions in the process, in case you go that route, let us know. We are super happy to answer them. All right. Christian asked, could you share the repository of this example? Yeah, I'm super happy to do so. However, it's currently not online. I will publish it either today or tomorrow, and we can notify you guys with a summary of the workshop with an email, and you can easily access it from our GitHub page. Yeah. Also, make sure to follow our social media channels. We will we will also make an announcement there. Okay, we have one question from Hudson. Using the design link, where should I expect to see this? Yeah, so this is something that you would see in our Widgetbook cloud. Let me see. So we have a little demo project here. This one, and you will see the Figma link in the bottom here. So what this feature, this is our review feature. What this feature is doing is there was some change made. So the button was changed from round to edgy, and you can now access the Figma link by just clicking here or here. This is mostly a cloud feature, but that being said, if you use Widgetbook, the open source package, you can also use this to have an easier access to your design files just from the source code. Yeah. Hope that answers the question. Yeah, and that being said, since I already showed a little bit of the cloud, yeah, the Widgetbook cloud is our hosted product that we offer to the community. You can try it for free. We have a lot of large teams really wanting to make sure that their design system is how their designers envisioned it. And we provide them with this review feature that allows them to easily review changes, spot regressions, and basically have a zero configuration golden testing tool that is hassle-free, and you don't need to manage all of the snapshots yourself or even write the tests. If you want to get access to Widgetbook Cloud, you can do so via the docs. You go to the docs, Widgetbook Cloud, and on the overview page, you already have the link to get access to join the cloud. You can also watch some videos about what is this, but I will keep it short here, and see also how our customers are using the cloud. It was at least fun for me. Hope you also had some fun and also learned something. And maybe see you next week.